Good morning. This is Megan Stewart, Regional Sales Director here at ClickDimensions. I'm excited to showcase the ClickDimensions solution for you today. So I would like to first thank LedgeView Partners for inviting me to present today. LedgeView Partners is a gold certified ClickDimensions partner, which is the highest level of partnership offered at ClickDimensions. This status is reserved for partners with the highest level of knowledge and expertise in both implementing and supporting the ClickDimensions solution. LedgeView Partners has several ClickDimensions certified professionals on staff. They also use ClickDimensions internally. Now today I will walk through a brief demonstration of ClickDimensions. We'll talk through a lot of the feature set in the live environment. I don't plan on showing every feature today. However, I'm happy to provide a deeper dive demonstration for you at any point. If you have any interest in a deeper conversation, please coordinate with your contact at LedgeView Partners and we can set up a time to do that. Now, jumping into the presentation, what you see on the screen here is the feature set that ClickDimensions is going to bring into Dynamic CRM, and we'll take a look at this in the live environment today. ClickDimensions takes a very different approach to marketing automation within Dynamic CRM than many of the other tools in the market, in the fact that we're actually doing this natively within Dynamics. So you'll see in a moment when we jump into the live environment that all of the ClickDimensions capabilities are going to sit right in the marketing section of Dynamic CRM. So this will allow sales, marketing, leadership to all work within a single platform. By having a solution that's built natively into Dynamic CRM, all of that data exists in the same place. So you'll see through the presentation today how that's relevant to you. I also want to mention that ClickDimensions does offer both training and support as part of the solution package. So really empowering you to get your full use out of the application. So let's go ahead and jump right into the live environment so we can really maximize our time today. I am demoing today out of my production environment, so a lot of the data that you're going to see through the presentation today is real live campaign data. So when I navigate to the marketing menu, you'll see this is where ClickDimensions sits. This is a solution file that would be imported into your CRM environment. ClickDimensions will work with CRM Online, CRM On-Premise, Dynamics 365, so any version of Dynamics CRM that you happen to have. Everything that you see in green here is what ClickDimensions is adding into the solution. So that would include things like your web tracking, form and survey integration. Campaign automations are more of your automated or drip style campaigns. We'll take a look at those today. Your traditional email marketing, text messaging, and social event management. Now, out of the box, ClickDimensions is going to work with the contacts, leads, accounts that you've already got within your database. So you're not managing a duplicate source of contacts within two separate platforms. Everything is going to be inside of Dynamics 365. When we're executing campaigns, the lists that ClickDimensions will use are the lists, again, that are native to your Dynamics environment. So we're going to start the conversation today around email. So the first thing we're really going to take a look at is actually creating the content. Through this marketing automation platform, you would have the ability to execute several types of email campaigns. For example, things like a bulk email, where we've queried a list, we're going to send one email to that list. You can send your automated or your nurture style campaigns, things like autoresponders coming from form submissions, as well as having the ability to send one-off templated emails to a specific contact or lead. Now, regardless of how you're going to send that email, they're all created in the central area called email templates. I'm going to showcase today our drag and drop email designer, which is my personal favorite. However, I do want to mention that ClickDimensions is offering several different design options for your marketer. The freestyle editor is your more traditional, what you see is what you get, or WYSIWYG editor. The custom HTML editor is available for marketers that prefer to design using straight HTML. Again, I'm going to show you the drag and drop in the live environment. Now, I do want to mention that all of these designers offer the ability to personalize, which I'll show you in the demonstration today. All of these editors offer dynamic content, which will actually enable you to render certain sections or images of that email based on what you know about the recipient. You can see this very basic example is referencing the gender. These editors all include inbox preview as well, so allowing your team to view how that email is going to render across a variety of inbox types, including those mobile devices and tablets. All right, so let's jump out of PowerPoint and back into the live presentation, and we're going to take a look at the drag and drop email designer, actually build an email on the fly. The email editors themselves do pop out into full screen mode, giving your marketer the full screen real estate to work with. Now, with this simple drag and drop email designer, the first thing that you would do is select the basic layout that you would like. So would you like 2 columns, 3 columns? Would you like a sidebar? Click on the section you'd like to edit. That pulls up the edit pane. Your marketer will also have the ability to drop in various content blocks. Now, as I build the email, we'll first start by selecting an image. The ClickDimensions image library is the same across the platform. So regardless of which email designer you're using, perhaps you're creating a web form or a landing page, you will have access to those same set of images. Those can easily be organized in folders, inserted into your content. So we'll go ahead and build one more block briefly. So this time we're going to go in and we're going to grab an image from a folder. So we'll go in, we'll select another image. Now, one thing I do want to mention is these images are going to resize automatically to fit within the block that you're inserting it in. So we'll go ahead and put my picture in here, and you'll notice now if I were to clone this block, move it into a column, you can see here it's going to auto resize for you. As I start to add the actual content, I'll simply type over the text, and then I can very easily personalize this communication. So personalizing would be inserting fields that you're storing within Dynamic CRM. Anything that lives within the contact, lead, parent account record, as well as the owner record. So you could personalize perhaps an email signature. In this very basic example, I'm just going to insert the first name. But again, any field that you're storing within those CRM records can be inserted into your email in a no-code fashion. Now, as I look to start hyperlinking, it's very easy to do that. I can link to text or to an image. The hyperlink manager makes it very easy for your marketers to link to an outside website. So I can link back to my site. I can link to documents, so I could upload a PowerPoint or a PDF. You'll also have the ability to insert things that you've built within the ClickDimensions platform. That would include things like your surveys, your landing pages. In this example, I'm going to go ahead and insert a link to a survey. Now, of course, you can adjust the styling of this email. I control the font size, text colors. You can edit styling on blocks individually. You also can control entire sections of that email. So perhaps you want all of the columns to be the same font, size, text, color. Very easy to then adjust things like your background, borders, shading. Now, when I take a look at the preview, you'll notice that this email is also then pre-coded with responsive design. So it's going to look great on those mobile devices at any point. And then the inbox preview that we talked about earlier is available right on the toolbar. That's what's going to go out and run that formal inbox preview test, allowing you to see how that particular piece of content is going to render across a variety of devices. Now that we've built our content, there are several different ways that you can execute a campaign, and we're going to look at 3 examples today. We're going to look at a traditional bulk send. So I've queried one marketing list, and I'm going to send that email to the list. We're going to take a look at our campaign automations, which again is your more automated or nurture style campaign. We're also going to look at sending an individual email directly from a contact or a lead record. So again, in the first example, we're looking at your bulk send. So we've built a marketing list within Dynamics, and now we're going to send that template out to the marketing list. To showcase this, I'm actually going to open up the newsletter that my company sent out last week. This record called an email send is where you would define which email you're sending, who it goes to. This is also then where we're going to capture all of the analytics. So you can see we've attached our email template here. I also want to point out this campaign field. What this is referring to is the campaign entity that you've got within Dynamics. So this campaign right here. This will allow you to tie multiple touch points to the same campaign. So perhaps you had multiple emails that you'd like to roll up to a parent campaign. That would also be the same campaign that you're referencing on a closed opportunity. So we can start to attribute that closed revenue. Anytime that you're sending an email, you define who that email should come from, including coming from your CRM record owner. So changing the from name based on a relationship can be a very effective tactic in your marketing. Of course, you control when the email goes out, and here's where you're going to indicate your marketing list. Since ClickDimensions sits natively within Dynamics CRM, you no longer need to import or export lists from one tool to another. Any list that you create within Dynamics is immediately ready to use on your ClickDimensions email send. You can also send to multiple lists at one time. You can see in this example, I have 2 lists. At this point, I'm ready to send this communication. Before sending, I can run a spam test. That test button will also send a sample email to anybody that you specify over here. I can do A/B split testing on this email, which would allow me to send 2 versions of that email to a test group, see which is going to perform better. Now, when this email has been sent, it does process through the ClickDimensions email delivery platform. So that means we're going to do the heavy lifting for you. ClickDimensions will manage the deliverability, will do seed testing, sender authentication to ensure that you have very high deliverability levels. The results will then flow back into the system real time. Now, all of the reporting is going to be available at the aggregate, which I'll show you first, as well as the individual, so allowing an individual sales user or account owner to see this information. Now, keep in mind, as I walk through the analytics today, ClickDimensions does not price based on user count. So what that means to you is every user that has access to your CRM can see and use ClickDimensions. Now, we do offer the same role-based security as Dynamic CRM, so you can define or restrict that. So for example, perhaps you'd like your sales user to be able to review statistics or send an individual email, but you don't want them creating content or executing a bulk send. Those permissions are entirely up to you. Now, going back to this particular email that we sent out a couple weeks ago, here we are seeing all of the out-of-the-box reporting. So we'll talk through this first. This screen is showing my performance summary. In this example, I've sent this email to 25,000 people. You'll see that ClickDimensions is going to exclude some people from your marketing list. That may happen for a couple different reasons. People that had unsubscribed, either globally or opted out of that specific preference. That would also include people that had had a hard bounce in the past, so those invalid email addresses. There's nothing that your users need to manually do about that. ClickDimensions will flag that record within the system. You can view who is excluded at any point just by clicking on this link here. That will pop that report out for you as well. All of your interactions, of course, then are calculated based on the number of messages that actually went out. That's where we're going to get our open rate, our click rate, our bounce rate. Now, I also want to point out that each of these metrics are created as a record within your CRM. So every deliver, open, click, bounce, that's related to the send as well as to the recipient. So what that means to you is this information is available through CRM reporting like advanced finds, charts, dashboards, Power BI. So for example, if you'd like to take that click report and break that down by product line, geography, account rep, you can very easily do that because now your marketing data sits in the same format as your traditional CRM information. Now, continuing on with the out-of-the-box reporting, we're tracking email clients. So are your recipients using Outlook, Yahoo, Gmail? Are they opening on desktop or mobile devices? Conversion tracking, showing how many of those recipients went through to your website or completed a web form after that email. Click reporting, standard report that shows the list of links that were included within that communication, breaking down between total versus unique. So what this means is I had 54 people click on this link 66 times. The report is interactive, so now I can see the actual individuals that did that interaction. Again, I can go directly to their CRM record by clicking on that report. I can very easily view the recipients on that particular communication, visibility into whether they opened it or clicked it. Heat map reporting shows very visually where the clicks had occurred within that communication. We also offer social sharing, which will give your recipients the ability to share your communications. If you're using the social sharing, of course, we're tracking who did the sharing and on what media. So that would be the reporting that a marketer is going to care about. They're going to want to measure the engagement at the aggregate. Now, a sales user, on the other hand, they may want to see on the individual contact or lead. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to go ahead and open up a contact record and take a look at the information that's going to be accessible there. So we're all going to pick on Jody Gilroy a little bit here. So Jody is a great resource at LedgeView Partners. If you have questions about creating marketing campaigns or evaluating marketing technology, Jody is definitely an expert. So we're going to pick on her a little bit today. Now, if we take a look at Jody's menu, you'll see that ClickDimensions adds all of our entities in here as well. Everything that I'm going to show you on Jody's record will be the same regardless of whether it was a contact or a lead. So a sales user can go in and see all of the emails that were sent to a particular user. They can see the web interactions, so I know if Jody's been to my website, what she's doing, how she got there, which pages she's looked at, any web forms, any surveys, any events that Jody has registered for, attended, or missed are all related back to her record. So again, you can very easily view those at each individual. And this is all historical record. It's not just syncing the past 30 days or the past 45 days. It's your full historical picture. Now we're also scoring Jody's interactions. So anytime that one of your contacts clicks on a link from an email, completes a form, visits a website, looks at specific pages, a point value is being associated to that. So now you can start to measure the engagement. That score can be used for segmenting your marketing campaigns. That could be used to sort a list of leads for a sales user. That could also be used to branch people down different paths within a campaign automation that we'll look at in just a moment. Now, from an individual's record, you could also allow a user to interact with them. This is extremely helpful in a situation where you've got perhaps a sales user or an account owner. So I can go in and I can send Jody an individual email. We call this a quick send. When you create the email template, like we looked at the very beginning of the call, marketing would determine which emails they'd like to pull up into this quick send. So not all of your emails will pull in here, only the ones that marketing is deemed to be quick sends. A user can select the email that they'd like to send. They can preview that content. And then when you send here, this email is processed the same way as those bulk sends. So we're having visibility into that open click behavior. The other thing we can allow a sales user to do would be add Jody to a campaign automation, which we'll look at next. Now, again, the campaign automations will be the automated or nurture style campaigns. What ClickDimensions provides to you is a drag and drop designer that takes a very Visio look and feel. So you can see I can simply just grab the sections and connect them in the order I'd like them to happen. Now, there are several ways that we can start a campaign. So I'd like to talk through that first. First of all, we can start with a marketing list. So perhaps I've queried a list of cold leads that I'd like to nurture. Add them to a marketing list, put them into this campaign. We can do a manual add, so giving users the ability to add contacts or leads one at a time from their contact record. We can start a campaign off the completion of a web form. We can also start a campaign off of an email interaction. So for example, we've sent that bulk email out. People that have clicked on any link or specific link, we maybe want to then add to this program. So now that we've determined our starting point, we're going to add a series. So think of the steps that we're taking within this campaign. So you can see in this example, I sent a series of 4 emails with a wait condition in between. So I simply selected the email, determined who I wanted it to come from, how long I wanted to wait. To build that, I simply just grab the actions and or the timers, connect them in the order I'd like them to happen. Once you've determined step 1 in your campaign, we want to build in some logic. So we're going to look to see how that recipient interacted with that first step. An interaction can be a couple different things. In this example, I chose an email interaction. So here what we're looking for is the click behavior. I've identified the links that I find important. So if my recipient clicks on the link, they route up here to this step. If they do not click by a certain date or within a certain time period, then I route them down here. An interaction could also be the completion of a web form or a survey. It could be a subscription preference update. It could be a value stored inside of Dynamic CRM. And it can also be an event participant. So we have some integrations built with a few different event management platforms. We can branch based off of a register, attend, or miss behavior as well. So now in this very basic example, again, going back to what I've built here, if my recipient clicked on those key links, I'm going to route them directly to sales, and I'm going to create an activity for them to follow up on. That activity that I'm referencing would be the activities that are native to Dynamics. If that recipient did not click, I'm going to send a secondary set of emails. Again, look for that click behavior, and I either route them up to sales, or I can add them to a re-engagement campaign. So again, going into the series, if we take a look at the various actions that we've got, sending an email or a text message, notifying a CRM user or a team, assigning an owner to that particular record. We could add or remove them from a list, which could also take them out of a campaign and add them to a new one. Putting in the campaign response entity, you could run a CRM workflow if you'd like to take an action that's not available within the timers, as well as your wait timers or your date timers. This flow, of course, then will allow you to measure the engagement. So the statistics will populate and let you know how many people have converted at the various steps within that specific campaign. So you can see, again, this is just a very, very basic lead nurturing example. We've got customers that use this for onboarding, for cross-selling, upselling, so many different use cases. I also want to point out that the Campaign Automation Designer allows you to zoom in and zoom out to very specific pieces. So if you're building a very long, detailed campaign, of course, you've got the ability to view everything on a single screen. All right, so jumping back to the live environment, a couple more pieces that I want to point out before we wrap up for the day. ClickDimensions also wants to make sure that we're bringing your website analytics into Dynamic CRM. So I'm going to touch briefly on our form integration as well as our visit behavior. Then we'll look briefly at event management, and then we'll wrap up. So web forms are a great way for you to capture visitor information from your site. A web form could be something as simple as a contact us, a piece of content that you're allowing people to download, a newsletter sign up. In any case, what we want to do is be able to get that information into your CRM environment so that we can take immediate automated action. ClickDimensions does provide a web form designer, so you can simply create your web form directly in the ClickDimensions application, embed that into your own website, or you could add that to a landing page that you've built within the ClickDimensions platform. As people complete that form, so they've downloaded your ebook or they've signed up for your newsletter, ClickDimensions is automatically going to bring that into your CRM. So here we can see all of the forms that have been completed. Now, as it does that, it looks to see if that individual exists in your platform already. So if they're already in your CRM, it's going to tie that inquiry to their existing record. If they are brand new, ClickDimensions is going to create a new record. So you can see, for example, this individual here downloaded an ebook today and we created that lead record populated with the data that was put into the form. Then there's a whole series of automated actions, which you may want to determine differently on one form versus another, but things like sending an auto response email. So imagine I sign up for your newsletter, I immediately get a copy of that last newsletter. Setting internal alerts, so letting your team know about that inquiry. Adding people to a marketing list, adding people to a nurture campaign, creating that activity or task for sales to follow up on. Again, happening in real time as that form posts into the system. Very similar to that, we're also offering survey capabilities, which again are tied directly to that contact. As far as the website tracking goes, form completions and email clicks are one of the two ways that we identify a web visit. This view here is simply showing all of the visit activity that's happening on my website. So as somebody goes out, visits my website, this record gets created within the platform, showing how they got to your site. Did they come from an email or a search engine or a direct? The individuals that have a name next to them have taken that identifying behavior. So they've clicked on your email, they've completed your form. Everybody else, they're what we call anonymous visitors. So ClickDimensions will continue to track their behavior until the point where they do convert and become identified. This information, of course, sits inside of your CRM in a way that it's very, very usable. So you can simply create a view or a chart, or look at some of the ClickDimensions out-of-the-box views to say, for example, show me visits coming from a specific campaign or specific ad source. Maybe show visits for a particular sales region or particular sales rep. All of this information is also accessible via Power BI for any of you that may be using that application. This automatically will bring in any web form, web visit, or email behavior directly into Power BI. Again, a few out of the box dashboards, but the ability to create some really, really robust reporting. Now we're getting a little close on time here. I'm going to wrap up the demonstration by talking about event management. The approach that ClickDimensions has taken here is building integrations with a few very established event providers. For any of you who may be doing web-based events like GoToWebinar or WebEx, we have some integrations built with both of those platforms. It's a simple set it and forget it integration. You simply link ClickDimensions to your webinar tool in the settings area. Again, that would be with GoToWebinar or WebEx. You would simply create your webinar the same way you've always done it in the past, but what ClickDimensions will do is they'll bring that information into CRM automatically by creating this event record and populating that with the data that you've put into your webinar tool. As people register for your webinar, that again gets brought into CRM automatically and then tied to that specific contact or lead record. So we can see I had 11 people register for this particular webinar. After that event takes place, all of that great reporting that both GoToWebinar and WebEx provide to you gets updated within the system. So you can easily see who attended, who missed, how long they were in session, did they ask any questions in the Q&A pane, what was your average attendee rate, what questions were asked. The value here then is all of that great information that your team gets through your GoToWebinar or through your WebEx is brought into CRM in a very usable format. Again, any CRM user that you choose to give permissions to can view, query, and use this information. For any of you who are doing in-person events, we have a very, very similar integration built with both with both Eventbrite as well as Cvent. So again, that set it and forget it integration. So to summarize, again, we weren't able to look at every single feature that ClickDimensions has to offer, but we did kind of a general overview of our email campaigns, our web tracking, and our forms. Again, ClickDimensions sits natively within your dynamic CRM environment, allowing sales and marketing to collaborate and work out of a single platform. If you have additional questions, if you'd like to see a deeper dive demonstration, I am happy to help at any point. You can either comment on this video, inquire through LedgeView Partners website, or go ahead and reach out to your contact at LedgeView Partners to coordinate on any next steps. So again, thank you for your time this morning.